What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the April edition of the year-long Loot Tab project. If you're new to this series, I am saving every single drop, every item that I get throughout the entire year of 2024, throwing it all in one loot tab. 4 months down, 8 months to go, still got a long way to go and a lot of loot to gain. Before we get into today's loot tab content, if you didn't know, I do have a merch store. It is over on Etsy. Everything in this merch store is old school RuneScape related, and it is handmade by me in my office at home and shipped directly to you. Today's merch store plug is specifically targeted at my all new beer steins featuring some classic old school RuneScape pubs. Some of my favorites are Canifis, the Hair of the Dog Inn. Over in Yanel, you have the Dragon Inn, the Rising Sun Inn in Falador, and the Blue Moon Inn in Varrock. Those are my 4 personal favorites, but there are 9 in total to choose from. So you can head over to the merch store, check out the new beer steins, and see if you want to grab yourself one. If you do think to yourself, man, I gotta have one of these, you can check the link in the description below that will take you over to my Etsy store, or you can also find it under the channel banner on my YouTube page. All right, let's get into this one. Let's get into some juicy loot after saving for 4 months. If you are new to this series, I do save everything that I get. I save all my brimstone keys. I'm doing Konar Slayer throughout this entire year, so I get brimstone keys to try to complete that collection log, saving all of my clue caskets that I get, as well as my dark totems, all of that good stuff. We're saving it all. So if you would like to actually catch up on this series, you can find links in the description below to the previous episodes of this series. So April was a bit of a slow month for me. I had a lot to do IRL, and that can be anything. You know, some people might be asking, Asuka, what could possibly be more important than getting old school RuneScape XP gains? And the answer to that is go-karts. Go-karts are more important. A friend of mine got a go-kart, and I was like, you know what? I want to get a go-kart. So I bought one off a marketplace from some guy. Kids didn't use it anymore, and I'm going to rebuild this thing pretty much from the ground up. Got some pictures of my progress so far. Put a little Predator 212 motor on this thing with a stage 1 kit. This thing is going to fly, and we're basically trying to send this thing to the moon. So maybe I'll give you guys some more updates as the go-kart project progresses. Among other things, the go-kart, new baby, all that stuff. My time for RuneScape is limited sometimes, but I try to get in as much as I can. So in last month's episode, for a little bit more transparency for the series, I started adding in my drops that I add to my unique drops sold spreadsheet, so I can keep track of all that throughout the year. Only 4 of them this month. Like I said, it was a little bit of a slow month, especially for drops. What else is new with my RNG? But yeah, 4 of those starting out on April 1st. I did pick up some dragon knives from the Hydra. Following that up on April 3rd, I pulled in dragon limbs, those from the Rune Dragons. And that was nice because it was a new collection log item for me. Just the very next day, got a Hydra leather on one of my Hydra tasks. Those are nice, still over 10 mil GP at this current time, so those are still a good chunk of change. And on April 15th, I pulled in another Hydra Claw. That would be the 3rd of the year. Nothing after that, so second half of the month for me was very dry. All right, so let's jump into my rune light tracker. As I've said in a couple other videos, when you don't kill something in old school RuneScape for a certain amount of time and you're using the rune light loot tracker, it seems to disappear. Some of the stuff is still on my loot tracker on the website portion of the loot tracker, but on my client side, it is actually, disappearing depending on how long it's been since I've had that as a Slayer task. But there's really only a few important bits in here that I do like to go over. First up, you'll see right at the top, as always, alchemical hydras. I always seem to end the month with an alchemical hydra task, so I am in the middle of one of those. 595 mil on the estimator right now. I actually am bone crushing all of the hydra bones so I can stay for longer trips. So 3,758 hydras is what I've killed so far this year, and that's over 7,000 hydra bones that I've just bone crushed away. Potentially could have been millions, but I'm not spending all the time banking every 5 to 6 kills. Not happening. 3 Hydra Claws and 5 leathers on the year. I'm still behind on leathers, so realistically speaking, with drop rate, I should have 7 leathers, but I'm still behind on that. As for the claws, still pretty much right there on rate. I just don't, I don't know. I don't know what's up with my RNG. A lot of stuff has been really not going well throughout this whole year-long loot tab thing endeavor. The brimstone rings are coming in though. You see at the bottom there, I have 9 completed rings and 1 piece of a 10th. So the Hydra's going, I guess it's going okay. Next up is Abyssal Demons. I finally managed to pull in another Abyssal Whip, 3,267 of those killed this year, and I still only have 3. Way behind on drop rates for the Abyssal Whip, just not showing me any love there. Those drop rates are 1 in 512. As for some other stuff in here, we'll take a look at my Smoke Devils. Smoke Devils occult necklaces are also 1 in 512. I have 8 of those in 1,800. Unfortunately, they're not worth what an Abyssal Whip is with the same drop rate, but I guess I'll take what I can get at this point. 13.1 mil through 1,800 Smoke Devils. The one I'm kind of worried about here is Dusk. I haven't had a Grotesque Guardians task in quite some time from Konar. They're not too low on the task weighting for her. I think they're a 7 as a task weight for her, but 1,642 of those. I actually think my last task for that was a dedicated boss task, so I did 55 Grotesque Guardians for that. Still chasing the Jar of Stone, over 6,000 kills now, and that is the last item I need to green log the Grotesque Guardians. Of course, it would be the jar. I'm just always chasing jars. So as for the important bits of the loot tracker, that's really it for the most part. Nothing else too stupendous in there. All right, so next we will start getting into the loot, and you'll see in the inventory, this is the stuff that isn't in the loot tab that I am obviously still keeping track of. Now, as for the cash, I mention this in every episode just to, let the new viewers know how this all started. I started out with exactly 45 million GP cash, and I'm funding this entire loot tab throughout the entire year based on alchemy drops that I receive, cash drops that I receive throughout my Slayer tasks. So I am actually plus 53 million GP, and this is all from alchemy drops, most of it coming from the Alchemical Hydra. Alchemical Hydra drops a ton of alchemy items, so that is pretty much where basically this entire cash stack is coming. The Alchemical Hydra also pretty much prints Chaos, Death, Blood runes, Astral runes, so you see those huge stacks there, most of those also coming from the Alchemical Hydra. Now I am using some of these runes throughout the year. Whenever I have to recharge my Tumican Shadow, or whenever I have a task that I can use Ice Barrage on, I am digging into these runes. Still not buying any with the cash that I've made, just using what I accumulate throughout the year. So this is the stuff that we are going to add to the loot tab value once we see that. So let's go ahead and check out what this is valued at currently. 123,127,790 GP. Tons of runes making up a ton of money. 148,000 chaos runes for 10 mil. Check out the blood rune stack, over 113,000 for 25 mil. Absolutely ridiculous. Even those astral runes almost at 100k there for getting those up. 8 million and 22,000 GP for that. So we are 1/3 of the way through the year. By the end of the year, looks like I could be looking at around 450,000 chaos runes, 300,000 deaths, over 300,000 bloods. So basically this value could triple by the end of the year, assuming I do stay on pace with what I'm doing. As for the potions you see in there, the Ceridoma brews, I've collected those whenever I have inventory space left over after a Grotesque Guardians trip. Ranging potions and these super restores, most of them coming from the Hydra, but still adding a good chunk of change in there. Just about 9 million GP or so from those extra potions that I've just been picking up throughout the year. So 123.1 million. All right, so obviously time for the best part of the video. We're checking out the loot tab. Where are we at? 587,168,768 GP. That is the RuneLight estimate of this tab value. With that added to the runes and everything that I pulled out earlier, total value is just south of 710,300,000 GP. So that is crazy. And if you're wondering, that means I am averaging 177.5 million a month. I am pulling in 177 million GP a month. Absolutely crazy. And this is all with Konar Slayer. I'm just doing Konar Slayer tasks. I am not doing anything else in this game. Every now and then I will go on a raid with some friends, but anything I do get from that raid, I have been putting over onto my alt account, just so it doesn't get mixed in with all of this stuff. So definitely keeping that separate. I think honestly I've only done 4 or 5 raids this whole year. But yeah, so let's check it out. 307,000 GP there, or I'm sorry, 307,000 platinum tokens. That is all from the unique drops that I have been selling as I get them. Brimstone key count is up to 428. That's nice, averaging 107 per month. Not too bad. So definitely should end up with over 1,200 of those by the time the year is over. Up to 13 dark totems at this point, and the clue caskets. I am doing the clue caskets as I get them. I usually will teleport from a task to get them done. My only stipulation there is if I have less than 50 left on the task, I will just finish the task out, or if I'm on a boss task, I'll finish the trip, then do the clue. So up to 175 hards and 42 elites. Also doing some mediums in there when I do see them, 11 of those. As for the stacks of items, they are getting up there. The herbs particularly, most of these again coming from the alchemical hydra, 1,600 renars in there, valued at 12.2 million. The quarms, very plentiful, 3,300, valued at 14 million. Snapdragons over 1,000 for 8.8. The Lanthidimes, not very expensive, 2,000 of those for only about 3 mil. Catentines are decent though, 2,500, 10.5 mil stack there. The dwarf weeds, same thing, not super valuable. And the torsals, unfortunately, are also not super valuable anymore. Picking up herb seeds as I go as well, just because some of them are pretty worthless, but pick them up anyways. Why not? It's not really, taking up much of my time, so I pick them up. Tree seeds also coming in nicely. A lot of those coming from the Hydra as well. 50 U seeds, 12 magic seeds. Got a lot of that stuff. Most of the ores and bars you see in here are coming from Grotesque Guardians tasks when I do get those. 618 rune ores, 676 rune bars. Other stuff in here, good stacks. What else do we have? Battle staves, lots of those. A lot of different stuff drops battle staves, 4,071 on the stack so far this year. And obviously the Dragon Bone farm, 42 million GP in Dragon Bones. And all of these are coming from the Alchemical Hydra, 14,070 so far. And Dagonoth Bones, that stack is going to remain the same until the end of the year because I green logged that last month, so that's pretty nice. As for some other stuff in here, you'll see just miscellaneous things down here at the bottom. Some of these are, I guess, more or less unique drops, those of which I am not selling. So I'm just keeping those stacking up throughout the year. I think I was selling dust battle staffs, but they're just not worth the time to keep track of. So there's one of those in there as well. Unfortunately, not an imbued heart. Really hoping to hit big with one of those before the year is over. From, I don't care which superior it comes from, just give me one. And 276 crystal keys so far. So that on pace there for close to 1,000. Close, a little over 1,000 or so, 900-ish. I don't know. Probably around 900 is where I'll end with the crystal keys. Not sure if I'll turn those into the enhanced crystal key or whatever and do that chest, but we'll figure out that when the time comes. Next up, we will start getting into the statistics that I have been tracking throughout this series, starting out with the unique drops sold. These are just the drops that I have deemed unique enough to sell on the spot, and I get what I get for them. If the price goes up, it goes up. If it goes down, it goes down. It doesn't matter. It's already gone from my bank. So my running total so far is 307,280,000. You can see everything in there that I have put down in this spreadsheet. 3 abyssal whips, still pretty salty about that for the amount of abyssal demons that I have killed. 9 brimstone rings in there, 34.6 million GP coming from that. The Hydra's Claws, 3 of those, 135 mil, and 5 Hydra Leathers, 56 million. So over 200 million GP coming in from just the Alchemical Hydra uniques. Obviously, using Konar, I'm going to get a lot of Hydra tasks throughout the year, and I plan on doing every single one of them. Next up, we'll check out like XP trackers and stuff and bank value and all that good stuff. So the first thing coming up on the screen here is the experience that I started with at the beginning of the year, January 1st, 2024. So we'll get into those gains in a second. As for my bank value, my starting bank value was 7.62 billion at the beginning of this year. Current bank value, 8.45 billion. And my bank value gain has been 832.7 million. Now, not all of this is attributed to the loot that I have gotten, obviously, but some items do fluctuate, causing my bank value to go up and down. So I figured this would just be kind of fun to keep track of throughout the year, see where it ends up at and what I've gained. As for my Slayer tasks, I started out at a streak of 2,626. I've completed 317 so far this year, and my current streak is 2,943. Sometime in May, I will be hitting 3,000 for that nice point boost from Konar. As for experience, at the end of April, total gains for attack, ranged, and Slayer, those are going to be the most because those are what I'm focusing on if I'm ever going to get 200 mil in something. 11.3 mil so far for the year for attack, 26.5 mil for ranged for the year. So that's 99 twice. I've already gotten the XP from level 1 to 99 twice this year for ranged. And Slayer XP, I've almost gotten that XP from 1 to 99 once, 12.1 million. Again, not the greatest month for me. XP gains were still pretty decent though. 2.3 mil for attack, 3.3 mil for hit points, 6.7 mil for ranged, and we'll just say 2.5 mil for Slayer. So there are all of your statistic updates for the month of April. So that is going to do it for the update for April for the year-long loot tab project. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I know that I don't put out much content anymore, but with IRL stuff going on, it's all I can do just to play enough, just to keep this series going and put out the one video a month for it. Sorry for being such a lazy content creator. My bad. Anyway, don't forget to check out the merch store. Maybe there's something in there that you might have or have a special gift for a special someone. Whatever your fancy, you could find something in there for you. As always, thank you for watching. Once again, tap that subscribe button on your way out. See you on the next one. Take it easy.